This is the Middle-earth philosopher. When I read the Silmarillion and how it speaks of Melkor's discord and his corruption of the world as it was being created, only for it to work in Ilúvatar's grand design, and then take into account what the discord looked like afterwards throughout the ages, the war, death, and destruction that takes place, I had to wonder, what are the children of Ilúvatar to Ilúvatar? I'm going to keep this within the universe of Middle-earth because it can too easily flood over to real-life theological questions. But consider, Ilúvatar, being a supreme being, and seeing what Melkor was doing, could have eliminated Melkor from the beginning, before anything was ever made or any conflicts had taken place. His anger at the corruption of the elves into orcs, or the rebellion of Númenor threatening his actual plan, would have never happened at all. So, why? Why his rare interaction with his children and allowing them to be marred? What was Ilúvatar's worldview that allowed this and everything that happened throughout the ages of Middle-earth to take place? I think a lot of it can be deduced from what he says to Melkor after he tries to take over the theme that was being sung, trying to put his own devices and his own narcissism into the mix of music from all the other beings that were singing. To quote, "And thou, Melkor, shalt see that no theme may be played that hath not its uttermost source in me, nor can any alter the music in my despite. For he that attempt this shall prove but mine instrument in the devising of things more wonderful, which he himself hath not imagined." End quote. So, essentially, Ilúvatar sees what Melkor is doing. He knows that he's trying to take control of his grand project. He knows Melkor is trying to be a mini Ilúvatar, and yet allows him to put his theme into the design to seemingly prove a point that no one is going to out-Ilúvatar the Ilúvatar, no matter what they do or how hard they try. So are the inhabitants of Middle-earth chess pieces on a grand chessboard spanning near infinite ages? The Silmarillion does say that he cares as much in the effect that he creates the gift of men, death that frees them from time and space of the dimension of Middle-earth that even the elves and the Valar are bound to, and some sources say that he tried to communicate this to men, but that they did not understand or that they had disobeyed, and that Melkor twisted this misunderstanding to the point where it was either made a curse by Ilúvatar or that humans perceived it as such. Moreover, mortals that were aware of the existence of Ilúvatar had largely an antagonistic perception of him, that either he doesn't care or that he doesn't exist, and the greater part of humanity never heard of him at all, let alone the Valar or anything of the first and second ages for that matter. I'm going to go on a wire here and posit that for all of Ilúvatar's omnipotence and all-knowing, that it's somehow limited to the grand level perception, the god's eye view, as it were, no pun intended. And this can best be seen in the Valar themselves. They cared for the children, but because of their nature that spans before time began, don't entirely know how to react to them when they act up or when they don't understand. They don't initially know how to handle Fëanor and the Noldor's rebellion except with an authoritarian hand. Some of them try to speak to humans through the nature of Middle-earth or in dreams, but because of their lack of knowledge or teachers, they don't understand it correctly. And Morgoth, though corrupted and limited as he is still an Annuar, only interacts with them through coercion. So I think these representations also represent Ilúvatar's perception as well, that while he sees the grand plan and orchestrates things accordingly, he is also unfamiliar with the personal lives of those who are caught up in this contest with Morgoth to prove who's the better creator. Or, to put it another way, he doesn't understand what it's like to live under those circumstances that unknowing, uncertain terror of not knowing what's going to happen and not understanding why it's happening to you because you can't see that grand design. That it seems, at least with the possible exception of Luthien and her children, that Ilúvatar is painfully silent to the lives being extinguished up until the point where that contest is won. Now, in Ilúvatar's defense, if I may be so bold, like I already haven't, all of this is going to one day rectify itself as stated in Finrod's vision. That those spirits that left the world, whether in peace or in terror, will eventually find their way to peace. It's hard to say ultimately, since trying to understand the perception of an immortal with a mortal, let alone a literal god, is at best dicey, if not outright sacrilegious. And I would understand that if listening to this, you would consider this video exactly that, sacrilegious. So, I guess perhaps the best answer to the question of does Ilúvatar care for his children is that he's playing a long game. That he does care, but that's where his focus is mainly at. The results. That everyone who has suffered will somehow be redeemed in the end. But, ultimately, who's to say? And, what are your thoughts on this? Do you think Ilúvatar is the painfully silent god who just doesn't care? Or that he does care, but all the people involved, the Valar, humans, elves, dwarves, etc., were just too ignorant to understand what was going on? Go ahead and feel free to leave a comment below. And this is the Middle-earth Philosopher. Have a good day.